both the private sector and the government, we will discuss strategies for addressing the new commercial reality in North America while preserving his strategic relationship and role as a global benchmark. Panelists will also share their insights on the impact of diversification strategies and national projects on investment attraction and trade promotion. Please note that you can submit questions via the online chat feature. We have three excellent panelists and an excellent moderator, Dr. Remigio Martinez Cantú. Dr. Martinez Cantú will introduce the panelists and I will introduce him. Victor Remigio Martinez Cantú is the Executive Director of Forefront ED. He was selected through a competitive process to lead this organization. Forefront ED focuses on boosting collaboration, innovation, business, trade, and public sector partnerships to increase the global marketability and quality of life in the Arizona, California, Sonora, Baja California mega region. Remy's background includes experience working in the public, private, and academic sectors in Mexico, which is crucial for cross-border collaboration. He holds degrees in business and public policy, as well as a doctorate in regional development, specializing in cross-border regions. Thank you, Remy, for agreeing to moderate this panel. You have the floor.
Thank you, Consul Dulce, and thank you very much your empathy for these topics and for our panelists that are really an experts on the building of the North American region. I would also like to thank Alejandro Figueroa and also Supervisor Porchas, chairman of the county, that come together with the Council of Mexico and Yuma to have these discussions previous to a very interesting agreement between Mexico, US, and Canada. As we know, it has been more than 30 years of this trade agreement, and now we're looking forward to a new era, I think so. And our panelists will help us give this discussion some light on it about these 30 years. So let me welcome Mr. Glenn Williamson from their CEO and founder of the Council for Business of Canada in Arizona. He's a well-known person, a lot of experience being an entrepreneurship and also with the leadership in the Canadian interest, not only in the US and in Arizona, also with good connections in Mexico. And also welcoming Fernando Garcia, that he is the Executive Vice President of Investment and Trade for the Arizona Commerce Authority. Fernando, he also has a large experience in economic development. He started in Casa Grande. His family is from the region over here in San Luis. He has done great things, and one of those are overseeing his offices over in Mexico, Taiwan, and in other parts of the world. Arizona is very interested in gathering investment and commercial ties. And also my very good friend, Arturo Fernandez. He is a businessman. He has been involved in business organization over in Mexico, like Coparmex. But now he has been like 2 or 3 years, Arturo, if I may have that date right, that you have been the president of Sonora Global EDC, that has done a lot of work all over the region in Sonora, but also connecting with other parts of the world, starting with Arizona, with the US, but also in Asia and other parts of the world. I really grateful for the invitation that Consul Dulce Valle gave it to me a couple of weeks ago, couple of months, maybe a month ago, to be part of this effort to discuss la continua construcción de una próspera Norteamérica, the continued work and building of the prosperous North America. And it will add a prosperous and secure North America. Well, with that said, I will now have some time without questions. We have some questions, and also I will ask for the public to send on the chat your question for the panelists. But first of all, I would like to hear from Mr. Glenn Williamson. What are his state of the North America trade agreement, the North American situation right now and the last 30 years. So, Mr. Glenn Williamson, welcome.
There we go. Now I'm on. First and foremost, thank you very much for the opportunity to come and chat about this. I think these are challenging times, but opportunity comes from challenging times. Many times I say from chaos comes opportunity. And I think that as we go through a transition from a global community around the world to what I would call deglobalization, we are watching North America in a vertical, like Europe is in a vertical and Asia is in a vertical. What is unfortunate is we're at that moment in time where we are redefining the relationships between Canada and Mexico and the United States. Some of this is very personal and has very little to do with trade. Some of it has a lot to do with trade and balancing trade between the three areas. Some of it has to do with tourism, some of it has to do with commerce, and some of it has to do with investing. USMCA is still intact at this moment in time. Mexico's relationship with the US is still intact at this time. Canada's relationship with the United States is personal and a little bit concerning with how people think about what is going on. We are continuing to see out of Canada massive investment in the United States and in Mexico that transcends all of the tariff war that is going on between everybody. And that is very important because we're looking at pension plans with $4 trillion in them in Toronto and Montreal and Alberta, and they are investing 50% of that in the United States and in Mexico. So in spite of everything that is going on, we are watching companies move into Mexico from Canada. We are watching Mexican produce go up to Canada. It is all still very, very intact. We are watching technical experience going between. We are watching workforce move back and forth. We are watching regulatory opportunities and cooperation start to happen. One of the things that we have watched is as the federal governments in Canada, Mexico, and the United States go back and forth, we are seeing great strength between the states in all three countries. We are seeing great opportunities with the counties in all three countries. And even more, we are seeing mayors of cities cooperate with each other to help stabilize what is going on in concern with the trilateral issues. Some of the balancing that is happening between Canada and the United States is we are right now about $1.3 billion in trade issues between Canada and the US. That is the lowest since 2020. So I am hoping that the administration sees this in a positive way. At the same time, we are watching border crossings on the Mexico side become lesser and lesser. And this is changing the image of North America. And I think we have an opportunity to move past the media, move past the rhetoric coming out of the federal governments, and pay attention to what has taken decades and decades to put together with intricate supply chains moving back and forth. Now, always remember from a Canadian point of view that issues that involve aluminum, steel, lumber, and automotive have always been there. So these are nothing new. This has always been a big issue with Canada and the United States. What we are seeing is the administration highlighting this and saying they would like to see more of that in the United States. That is something that does have Canada concerned. The same thing with Mexico, where automotive is a concern going back and forth. We think that this will be manufacturing driven in the form of assembly. We see supply chains staying very intact going between all three countries. The same we see in aerospace and the same we see in foods and agriculture going back and forth. It would be extraordinarily detrimental for the administration to mess around with any of that stuff. USMCA is still something that is a governing body between the three, and I do not believe that is going to be touched until 2026 when a review happens. It's not a transition, but it is a review for the next 16 years. Now, whether or not this administration decides to transition the entire thing, which I do not believe they will do, I believe that this is an opportunity for all of the Mexican market to pay attention to what is going on the Canadian and American. I think the recent meeting that is going on right now between Canada and Mexico is good. I don't think it's going to change a lot because most of this trade will have to go through the United States. I don't see things going around the US in large amounts. So I think that Canada and Mexico have to come to grips with the fact that there is a transitory issue between Canada and Mexico. We also see something between Mexico and the United States from Canada, and that is a massive influx of capital to upgrade infrastructure in Mexico and the United States. And we do not see that slowing down one iota. We are seeing billions and billions and billions of dollars coming from Canada to help Mexico and to help the United States move past a 1940s water infrastructure and a 1970s energy infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Glenn. That was a great opening, and I would like to ask Fernando to also to give me an opening for this topic of discussion right now. How are you, Fernando?
Pretty good, and you. Thank you, Remigio, and first of all, thank you so much, Consul General Dulce, for your leadership and putting this great webinar together. I'm looking forward to this discussion with Mr. Williamson, Fernandez, and Remigio. So from the state of Arizona's perspective, I think it's really, really important to put things into context. And I really like what you mentioned, Glenn, is from chaos comes opportunities. And there's been many versions of that. And one that I really want to pinpoint is the recession of 2008, 2009, because it's very relevant on how the states developed a strategy to diversify our economy. And that has turned into significant opportunities for the state of Arizona that continue to strengthen the reason why this regional North American approach is so important. After 2008, 2009, during the recession, Arizona was one of the states that took the longest to get back up on its feet. We did not have a diversified economy, but we did have legacy sectors that were strong at the time, but we're not seeing the growth that we're seeing now. Those sectors were aerospace and defense, the semiconductor industry, mining, amongst others. One project that I always like to mention was a project that was announced in 2016 in the automotive industry. The northern Mexican states were instrumental to land this project. This was one of the first projects that Arizona Commerce Authority landed in the state that were considered as a mega project. This was a multi-billion-dollar project, thousands of jobs. And at the time, Arizona did not have an existing automotive industry. Typically, projects in that sector would move into the Midwest, Michigan, Illinois, the traditional legacy states for the automotive industry. They would locate in the South, whether it was the Carolinas, Georgia, Tennessee, etc. But it landed here. And this was a multiple state search with over 60 sites in consideration, and it landed in Arizona. At the time, as it continues to be the case now, there was a really, really good, strong partnership in between the state of Arizona, the state of Sonora, and multiple Mexican states. It is clear that Sonora has a robust supply chain in the automotive industry, and it's one of the reasons why we were able to land that project. It was the supply chain capabilities of the state of Sonora, Arizona's first automotive project, now turning into thousands of jobs, and a project that continues to expand. Now, I like to mention that as a perfect example that really put Arizona in the collaboration of the region as a key region, key mega region to attract investment. That has translated into multiple opportunities in other sectors, which we're seeing now in the semiconductor industry. Of course, as many of us may know, TSMC announced a $12 billion project back in 2020. Now, why is that relevant to Arizona? Why is that relevant to Mexico? Why is that relevant to Canada? Glenn mentioned it at the beginning that we are on this race of deglobalization, and we're seeing different verticals, and it's specifically true for the semiconductor industry. We have verticals that are mainly focused in China. We have verticals that are focusing on the ASEAN plus India region, another vertical in between Taiwan, Korea, Japan. But North America is becoming this resurgence location for the semiconductor industry, and it's becoming stronger and stronger than ever. Since 2020, there has been now over 50 semiconductor projects that have expanded precisely in the state of Arizona. That's accounting for over $205 billion in capital investment and over 26,000 jobs. Now, to really put it into context, in the state of Arizona, there are a little bit over 200 companies in the semiconductor industry. If we talk about Taiwan, where the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company is from, there are over 2,000 companies just within that market. So in the most conservative way, we're talking about a 10% share of that supply chain gap that I just mentioned. Those are opportunities for Mexico, specifically the state of Sonora. Those are opportunities for Canada, especially as we talk about a subsector being optics and photonics, which the Canadian market is very strong. So it's an immense opportunity that we have up front. I think for us to continue to have a regionalization approach is going to be key. There's going to be different flavors of chaos as we move forward, but I think certainly continue to strengthen our relationship, whether it's at a subnational level with Mexican states, with Canada. That's going to be the solution for us to continue to thrive as a mega region.
Thank you, Fernando. Thank you, Fernando, for that. Both of you have talked about deglobalization. I will argue is reglobalization, and that's another topic to talk about. But Arturo, please help us with your opening remarks also. Arturo Fernandez.
Thank you, Remigio. Thank you very much for the invitation. Also, and Dulce, also our CG. I appreciate very much the invitation. It is truly a pleasure to be a part of this effort from the city of Yuma, which is a key place for regional collaboration between Arizona, Sonora, and also the broader North American region. It is also a pleasure to share this panel with Fernando and Glenn, which are very respected on my behalf. I believe that as we head towards the USMCA review in this 2026, I think we're all aware that the world looks very different today than what it did just a few years ago. Global supply chains are shifting, new technologies are disrupting industries, and economic competition, especially from Asia, is pushing us to rethink how we cooperate across these borders. From where I stand in Sonora, which is a Mexican border state that shares deep ties with Arizona, the USMCA has to be a lot more than just a trade agreement. It should be our common roadmap to become a stronger, more integrated, and more resilient North America. Let me just share a few thoughts from this perspective from the private sector. First, the USMCA gives us a great legal framework, but that's just the starting point. What matters now is how we make it work at a ground level. In Mexico, we need to strengthen our institutions, of course, and send clear signals to investors, especially in areas like energy, technology, and logistics. But at the same time, we need our partners in the US and Canada to see this relationship, not just in terms of trade balance or in terms of politics, but also as a long-term partnership that can compete globally. We need each other in order to compete at a global scene. Second, we need more than just, we share a lot more than a border with the US. We share population, we share industries, challenges, and of course, a lot of opportunities. Between us, we have world-class talent, universities, infrastructure, and innovative companies. So imagine what we could do if we align our efforts efficiently. From building semiconductor supply chain to promoting clean energy projects or creating joint innovation hubs. This is just a distant dream, but it's something we can build together with the right coordination. And third, yes, we have disagreements in terms of labor, energy, rules of origin. They're all very real, but that's normal in any complex relationship. What matters is how we solve those issues, how we address those issues. If we use this effort, this review of the USMCA to update priorities and improve how we work together, we'll come out a stronger region. Let's make sure we're talking not just about trade, but also about digital transformation, also that magic word, clean energy and security. Security, yes, here it becomes a very sensitive subject. The U.S. intervention in this matter, in the matter of security, sparks Mexico's concern with regards to issues of sovereignty. Well, in the U.S., the main concern is drug trafficking. As Mexicans, and this is a very personal opinion, I believe there should be a large exercise, so to say, to sit down with specialists, private and public sector representatives on both countries with the purpose of addressing these two subjects at both sides' full satisfaction. The end result should be a more complete document, which includes clauses regarding organized crime in Mexico, but that should be a subject. But of course, that would be a subject for another day, as Remy, let's say, a couple of minutes ago. As Sonora Global, we work every day to connect local businesses with global opportunities. And we can tell you that the business community in Mexico is ready to collaborate, ready to invest, and ready to build a more competitive, more inclusive North America.
Thank you, Arturo, for your opening statements and messages and being so open about a lot of other topics like security issues over in Mexico and how can those be addressed. So that's open up for some of the questions that the organizing team had put together, and I would like to read the first one, because it's a general question, but it can give us kind of what has been going on the bright side, what can be addressed in the future of the North America construction. So given over 30 years of successful integration under free trade, what specific recommendations can you offer to deepen our regional prosperity, particularly by expanding opportunities for small, medium-sized enterprises in trade, investment, and innovation? So I don't know if one of you is ready to address this first question, or if you want me to choose one of you. Well, I will start with Fernando. Fernando, how do you feel about this question?
No, certainly I think supporting our existing ecosystems, whether it's in Arizona, Mexico, and Canada, have to continue to be a significant priority. From the state of Arizona's perspective, we have increased our global footprint, especially in the last couple of years. 3 years ago, we had 2 international offices, one in Israel, and an operation in Mexico, specifically in Mexico City. Since then, we now have 10 international offices, 8 that are officially announced. We have an office in Mexico City, in Chihuahua. As Glenn spoke, I spoke quite a bit of Asia, and of course, Mr. Fernandez has been out there quite a bit. The Asian market will continue to be a significant priority. to North America, we have offices in Taiwan, Korea, Japan, an office in Canada, which we've had now for almost 2 years, a Europe operation based in Frankfurt with a specific focus in the Netherlands and Belgium, and then an office in Israel as well. Now, how is that relevant to SMEs? For us, we support SMEs through trade efforts. We have a program that's called Export Tech, and that initiative focuses on promoting their products throughout the globe, whether it's trade shows in any of those markets. But we specifically focus in Mexico and in Canada. Relevant sectors continue to be mining. As many of you may know, the state of Arizona is the #1 mining state in the entire nation besides oil and gas. And we share that same type of industry base with the state of Sonora. Just last October, we had the opportunity to take a delegation to Hermosillo. It was 10 SMEs. We were at the Hermosillo Mining Show, companies showcasing their products, their business, and continue to strengthen those supply chain ties with the Mexican market overall, but specifically the state of Sonora. And of course, we've done similar trade shows in Canada in multiple markets. So that will continue to be part of our strategy as we support the SMEs here in the state of Arizona.
Thank you, Fernando. Any of the panelists want to give more information about this question?
Sure, I'll be glad to. We've looked at this from a Canada-Arizona Business Council point of view, and we believe fostering regional supply chains resilience is going to be a very, very important area between the three countries. One of the other big ones is to promote regulatory cooperation. We see that at a state to state and province level that will be very important for water, mining, and energy. We've also believe in joint innovation hubs, where in spite of what's going on between administrations, that these hubs run in parallel between the three countries and cross-pollinate. One of the big ones that we think as America goes through workforce issues is to coordinate workforce development between Mexico and the United States specifically. Canada to a degree, but we see that opportunity with Mexico and the US. We also believe that inclusive and equitable growth, for example, I am working with the governor of Sonora, Alfonso Durazo, on mining because the majority of his mines in Sonora are Canadian. We are looking at financing a potential smelter in the state of Sonora because we can never get it done in the United States. And we are working on refinancing with the Admiralty in Mexico City, the Port of Guaymas, to deal with the massive influx of new copper coming from new mines in the state of Arizona. We are also working on the project that the Israelis started with the Sea of Cortez and desalinization. And we are also working with Union Pacific, that is now run by a Canadian, on dealing with the Nogales choke point. So all of these are showing Canadian capital markets looking directly at how to solve many of the issues in Sonora. We also think that aligning strategic trade and investment policies like those are going to be very, very important as we move forward between the three countries.
Thank you, Mr. Glenn. I have another question. Here is with market diversification as a strategy priority, highlighted by Mexico's extensive network of free trade and investment agreements, what specific governmental actions will most effectively support companies identifying and leveraging new opportunities for diversification with the North American market? So this question is how to take the opportunity of Mexico's trade agreements as a place for investment. So Arturo will reach out to you for the first answer to this question with your experience in not only in the US, also in the Asian markets.
course, thank you. That's one that's incredibly relevant right now, especially with countries like Mexico that already have a wide global trade network. From my experience in economic development, I would say that if we want companies to truly diversify markets and integrate into North America more strategically, governments need to go beyond just signing trade agreements and start. We need to actively activating them for real businesses. So what does that mean? That means that we need to provide targeted market intelligence on the one hand. Many small and medium-sized businesses simply don't have access to data to tell them where demand is growing, what regulations they need to meet, or who the buyers are, or where are they for that matter. Governments can partner with local business chambers and economic development councils or organizations to create a sector-specific roadmap for export and investment. That's part of the mapping that we have been doing, and we have also been collaborating closely with the local government in order to enrich these maps. Also, we need to work on capacity building. Diversifying markets require new skills. You were talking about digital trade, cross-border compliance, international finance. That is a very important issue. Financing of local companies in order to access these markets. Many of this scenario, the international scene is accessible only to a medium to large size companies. So governments should be investing in programs that prepare companies for that. If we think about short courses, mentorship, perhaps real-world export readiness programs and things like that. Also, we need more public and private missions with a purpose. I think we need to travel more to these markets, and we have a connectivity challenge that we have had the opportunity to talk about in other occasions, but we need business delegations that where deals can actually be made. Lastly, interagency coordination is also a key. Trade, innovation, education, investment, they're all connected. So governments could also treat market diversification not just as a trade policy goal, but also as a national competitiveness strategy.
Okay, thank you. Anyone wants to take this topic also?
Sure, I'll be glad to.
Okay.
A couple of the issues that we noticed. First, I'd like to deal with the 800-pound gorilla in the discussion right now, and that is safety in Mexico. I think it's very important to take a look at safety in Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles, so that we recognize that Mexico is not the only place that has these issues, or Vancouver and Montreal with Asian cartels. No different than the mafia was years and years ago. We're watching cartels and next generation move up. And I think it's very important to put this in perspective as Americans and Canadians look at Mexico. We believe that creating a trilateral industry strategy per sector is very, very involved and important. Again, back to workforce, we think that's big. And the SMEs need to be stronger connected between the three countries, as well as our trade policies and labor that we've talked about earlier, and regional innovation clusters. And let's not forget the importance of trilateral finance. This is not touched by tariffs, and this is a very, very important area that the three countries can work with, between banks, between wealth groups, between family wealth, that can move back and forth. We see this all the time, and nobody talks about it. It is not underneath tariffs, and it is a key area to develop regions.
Okay. Well, I will continue with these next questions that we have here. From your perspective, what collaborative trade and investment initiatives can significantly enhance North America's resilience and prosperity, particularly initiatives aimed at strengthening our shared industrial base and creating high-wage employment across all three nations. I guess, Fernando, I will ask you to start first with this question because you talk a little bit about this example about lucid technology industry, but also how do you see the investment in to enhance trade here in the region?
For sure, happy to take this one, Remy. Certainly, there's been lots of economic activity throughout the last several years. And to start with the state of Arizona and to put a 5-year comparison, back in 2020, we had around 200 projects in our pipeline here with the Arizona Commerce Authority. Around 75% of those projects were in advanced manufacturing. We speed up to now. Right now, we have 475 projects in our active project pipeline. Still the same range, around 70 to 75% of those being in advanced manufacturing. Around 33% of those are from an international origin, which is one of the reasons why we've continued to expand our global footprint. I'll say that 33% encompasses companies with the highest capital investment, with the highest quality jobs, and with certainly a generational drive to strengthen the semiconductor ecosystem here in the state of Arizona and technology and innovation as a whole. Arturo mentioned something very important on the previous question as it relates to developing roadmaps. And that's truly a significant piece on why Arizona has continued to be successful. Back in 2021, the ACA developed a roadmap that's called the National Semiconductor Economic Roadmap. This was an initiative that convened 80 global leaders, whether they were in industry, academia, or government, to really focus on 4 main things. One was infrastructure. We talked about infrastructure earlier. We talked about supply chain, entrepreneurship, and workforce as a whole. This initiative focused on identifying gaps in those areas and identifying meaningful action items for us to develop an ecosystem that addresses those. Since then, there have been different initiatives, multiple initiatives, to continue to enhance the workforce throughout the state of Arizona. A specific initiative has been a program that's called Future 48. Yes, it's great to see this industrial base continue to be strengthened in Arizona and throughout the northern Mexican states and Canada. But one of the number one priorities for a lot of the businesses that we work with is workforce. So because of this economic activity, the state put together this program that's called Future 48, and it also started with Lucid Motors. At the time, it was called Drive 48, but this was a partnership in between the city of Casa Grande, Pinal County, the community college in the area. And since the inception of this program, there have been now over 2,400 students that have successfully gone through that program and have been gainfully employed by Lucid Motors. That same format will now be replicated 6 additional times. There will be a workforce accelerator for the semiconductor industry, for battery technology, advanced manufacturing as a whole, aerospace and defense. So it'll be a significant initiative to really support that workforce base that's needed by the companies that continue to locate here in the state of Arizona. Now, to talk a little bit more about the integration, back in June, the same week when the Arizona-Mexico Commission had its plenary here, and Governor Durazo was out here in the Phoenix metro area, that same week, we hosted what was called the U.S.-Mexico Semiconductor Collaboration Forum. This was an initiative that was many months in the making. We worked very closely with the Secretaría of Economía for Mexico, with Secretario Marcelo Ebrard's team. And we sent out letters through our president CEO, Sandra Watson. We sent 32 letters to 31 Mexican states and Ciudad de Mexico to their secretaries of economy. We were very successful with that initiative, and we're able to host 25 secretaries of economy / deputies here in the Phoenix metro area to talk about this very important topic, the semiconductor industry. Topics in workforce, topics in supply chain integration, infrastructure, and supply chain as a whole. The work is being done. Certainly, there's a lot more to do. And from our perspective, we're excited about those opportunities because aside from the chaos, we truly have an amazing opportunity in front of us that will have generational impacts for the communities. And I always keep that at the forefront. Yes, you might be working on global initiatives, but it's truly about having a local impact. And being from San Luis, seeing the great activity that Yuma has experienced, I think that's what it's all about.
Thank you, Fernando. Arturo, I would like to know your perspective about this question, about the investments to facilitate trade. We're not going to talk a lot about the investment that is going on the cross-border ports of entry between Mexico and the U.S., but what is the scope? What is the view of businessmen over in Mexico, in Sonora, about the needs for take advantage of this evolving industry that is technology, semiconductors, aerospace industry, also automobile? Don't forget that is also changing in technology now with EV. How do you see this needs for investment as a businessman from Mexico?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think that one of the most impactful collaborative initiatives we can pursue is building a binational industrial ecosystem around all of this strategic sector. Not just isolated manufacturing plants, but true cross-border value chains that align investment, training, infrastructure, and innovation. Take the example of semiconductors or electric vehicles. We have recently created two new organizations in Sonora. One of them is the Asociación de Parques Industriales, the ASPI, which is the Association of Private Industrial Parks in Sonora. The other one is the Auto Cluster, which was just launched, I think it was last year or the year before, at the end of the year before. It was just recently launched. And the creation of these additional organizations, which integrate into this ecosystem, this manufacturing ecosystem, I think that one of the greatest initiatives we can push would be to integrate them into those industries in the United States. So take, for example, semiconductors or electric vehicles. These are industries where the US, Mexico, and Canada each bring something to the table, whether it's engineering talent, advanced manufacturing, or critical raw materials. I believe that by co-investing in this shared infrastructure, like logistic hubs, certification labs, industrial parks, or creating common standards, we can create a more resilient ecosystem, cross-border ecosystem. Another opportunity lies in harmonizing workforce development. But this integration doesn't work if we don't have the skilled people in place. So we can create a pipeline of trilateral training personnel. Also, I believe we need to empower regional economic development alliances. We talk about a mega region, the Sonora, Arizona mega region, but we need to make this to lay down more lines of communications, to build more bridges, more frequent events for integration of this zone, not just the Arizona Mexico Commission. The Arizona Mexico Commission or the Sonora US Commission, but I think what we need a large array of organizations having multiple conversations to achieve a multiplying factor of collaboration between our regions and to make this mega region a reality. So I think those are some of the most important initiatives that we can push in order to make this take advantage of these bilateral trade agreements.
Thank you, Arturo. And as I see, we can see the current environment, these current programs, the results of those. So we're looking ahead for the construction of North America. So we have to take in account. I guess I'm going to take this question that we have here, just to have the feeling about what will it take to make this work out in the future for the future of North America. With an increasing emphasis on domestic production and supply chain resilience globally, how can our North America corridor set a benchmark by developing innovative trade and investment models that equify benefit all partners while effectively navigating diverse regulatory environments? So we know COVID came, disrupt supply chains. That's what's one rude awakening. Now we have this complex situation between regulatory trade assignments. How can we build, like the question says, a benchmark for a new regional agreement that can be supportive of every partner's goals for the society and for the benefit of the citizens? So I guess, Mr. Williamson, I would like to start with you, and hopefully I get an answer for all of the rest of the panelists, and before I take some questions from the public. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to bring up one of the things that we have looked at. First and foremost, we work very closely with the Arizona Commerce Authority as the Canada-Arizona Business Council. We focus on Canada for them in many, many ways. One of the things that we've looked at is e-commerce, specifically between the three countries, that does not require borders. And the business is booming between countries around the world where e-commerce is now as important as many physical manufacturing plants. As we go through physical manufacturing and physical company issues on tariffs, our e-commerce issues between the three countries has a huge opportunity with digital products. The same thing with AI. The physical plants with AI on huge areas that we build this for computers, we look at the actual product that AI creates, and that transcends borders. That is something that we see a huge amount of opportunity in.
Thank you. Fernando, do you want to complement this answer?
Yeah, no, I agree with Glenn. I think, I mean, just if we think about the last decade and the trade numbers, there certainly have been some significant changes. And those numbers showcase the strengthening of North America. If we look 10 years back in 2015, well, just about U.S. exports, Canada continues to be the #1 export market for the U.S. And there was a significant increase from 2015 to last year, 2024, with a little bit over 70 billion increase from 280 to 350. Mexico #2 and China #3. But the really interesting piece, and it's something that we really look into as we look into foreign direct investment into the state of Arizona or into the region, we look at imports, because that means that there are OEMs, companies in Arizona or in the region that need this products from around the globe, right? So that's an opportunity for expansion. If we look, I mean, just in 2022, Mexico surpassed China for the first time, right? That became the #1 importer and #1 trading partner, as it continues to be for the state of Arizona. What's interesting, in 2015, Mexico was #2 and Canada was #3, only by a $100,000 difference. So with 296 billion, $100,000 difference with Canada. We speed up to 2024. the number now for imports from Mexico is at 505 billion. You're talking about a $200 billion difference in imports. From Canada, it went from 296 to 411 billion. And China for 2024 is standing at 438. I think that trend will continue. I think for Canada's imports, that yes, I mean there's a lot of uncertainty, but long run, I think this regionalization, as we've seen these last 10 years, will continue, and the region will continue to get stronger.
Thank you. Arturo, do you have something to add?
I think I'm going to sit this one out in order
Okay.
because I would be repeating many of the things that my friends already mentioned.
Okay. So we're receiving some questions right now, and one of those, we haven't addressed tourism because it's more of a general discussion about the free trade agreement and North America region. But Aisa Coronado sent us questions about what is the expectations about tourism in the region. Do you think they're gonna increase or maybe stay put? How this political environment can be part of the decisions of consumers to have tourism decisions across the region? Anyone wants to address this?
I would be glad to, since the CABC also covers this. I can tell you that Canada is very upset with the United States for the 51st state discussion, and this has forced Canadian tourism to drop about 33% in the United States month to month and 22% year to year. The Canadian component into the United States is about 20 billion. So in Arizona, it will probably lose about 176 billion. Mexico will be the recipient of a lot of that as Canadians fly over the United States into Mexico and into other countries. Canada always says to itself, we'll travel between Canada back and forth, but cold is cold is cold, doesn't matter which province you're in. So Canadians will continue to travel. They will probably overfly the United States. Arizona is on the bottom of that list. They'll start with all the border states on the top. They'll get to other states, but Arizona, its tourism will hold up slightly better than most. But Mexico, if I was Mexico, I would be putting up signs that say, we love Canadians, and you'd be surprised how the Canadian population redirects into Mexico.
All right. Any other panelists want to comment on this question about tourism?
I could.
Yes, Arturo. Sorry.
I would like to make Glenn's word and initiative, and I think it would be a great idea. We have been witnessing a phenomenon here in Sonora. We have been losing some of the flights that connect us better to the U.S. We used to have a direct flight to Los Angeles, and that vanished. We used to have a direct flight to Las Vegas. We used to have a direct flight to Tucson. We used to have flight directly to Dallas and to Houston, and all of those flights disappeared. The only international flight left from the Hermosillo airport is the Hermosillo to Phoenix, which I quoted a few weeks ago because I needed to go to a meeting, and it had a price tag of $3,500. So I think that should be an issue that should be talked. We should be talking a lot more about that. I haven't seen that issue addressed in any panels. The Hermosillo Airport moves 2.2 million passengers a year, and only 4% of those are international passengers. We're talking about 75,000 international passengers a year, which is very, very small. If we contrast that with an airport like Cancun, and of course, Cancun is a tourist destination, but Cancun moves 33 million passengers a year, and 70% of those are international passengers. Cancun flies to over 115 destinations, from which most are international destinations. There used to be a flight also from Tucson to Guaymas that disappeared. There used to be a flight from Tucson to Obregon that also disappeared. So we cannot talk about the integration of a mega region in Arizona, Sonora, if we're completely isolated by our airlines. So I think that we need to talk more about that, because I think that is going to be an integral factor in the a very important factor for the internet integration, and to take advantage of the competitive advantages that Sonora can offer to the state of Arizona. Also, the issue of the safe corridors in Mexico, and also the modernization of the crossing infrastructure. I think that should also be addressed. Both projects were frozen in 2018. I think they were abandoned on our side, not on the American side. And as far as I understand, I think there's going to be another investment on the U.S. side on 2026. I don't know if Fernando could tell us a little bit more about that.
For sure. Arturo, I totally agree. It's and one of the main points, and what I continue to think is, flights from Mercosur. I think that it would be very strategic, especially with more and more international travel. I think that that's in high demand as it relates to the ports of entry. Of course, there's the San Luis port of entry, significant expansion that's happening with, I believe it's close to 500 million for that expansion, and almost 2 billion in Nogales, certainly significantly expanding the lanes and the opportunities for trade via those ports. I do have a call to action for that one. I think that's a very important topic. The Arizona Mexico Commission has a transportation committee, which the Economic Development Committee has been joining now more and more. I certainly encourage all the attendees to look into AMC. It's certainly a great organization to continue to talk about these very important topics.
So thank you. So tourism is really a big thing. Mexicans love to go to US and also to Canada. Canadians love to go play pickleball in San Carlos, and also we know that the US citizens mostly from Arizona love to go to Rocky Point. So we have a back and forward movement of people reaching this tourism idea. I guess, like Arturo said, it is more to be done in that sector, over in the security, over in infrastructure, easiness of cross-bordering, not having to take that much of a time to cross the border, to go back and forward, and the connectivity also. So thank you for the question about tourism. And I have another one. Now we're changing a little bit about plans of AI infrastructure, data centers. Do you know anything, any agreements or any coming investment that can be impacted by that? Jose Torres sent this question. Are any plans of conversation of cross-border deal agreement to build data centers of project to support the global AI networks that are growing right now between the countries?
Remigio, I'm happy to take this one. And Jose Torres, I'm very interested in your background. That's a very important question at this time as it relates to official deal agreements. I'm not aware of any as it relates to national governments entering into those type of agreements, but it's a very important topic. This semiconductor activity that we're seeing is driven through this AI demand that is now going to be adaptive not only for our day-to-day use, whether using it on your phone, on your chat GPT, but applications that can be tailored to construction, engineering, architecture, to medical technology, biotechnology. And that has been a very important realm currently we have an aging population that's significant, not only in the Americas, but specifically Asia. It's a huge market for technology, and AI is going to continue to be a significant solution for that. Now, as we talk about infrastructure, there has been a significant demand for data centers. Arizona is the second largest market for data centers in the entire United States. We currently have 152 data centers just in the state of Arizona, and these are state of the arts. Virginia has been the #1 market for data centers for many reasons. A lot of it because of federal government's type of operations, meaning the Pentagon, meaning all the federal entities that are out there in DC. Virginia supports those types of operations, but those are more of legacy types of data centers. This AI demand is absolutely different, and it continues, and it has a whole nother level of complexity and infrastructure needs. What I would say that would be very important to enter into these deal agreements would be for subnational governments to have a significant focus in infrastructure. Now, water will continue to be a significant priority. There have been technologies that have shifted from cooling systems through water, but that has translated into higher power demands. So if we would start somewhere, I think we need to start the discussion on knowing what the infrastructure capabilities are at this time and what that roadmap will be to enhance those infrastructure capabilities. They're happening in the state of Arizona currently. I'd be interested to learn more about what's happening in the state of Sonora and how we could potentially work together.
That's a great topic because I think it could be a great opportunity for other industry to develop. Power, energy, and water resources are most important in both states, and I guess this kind of projects or demand for these projects may bring answers to those challenges about water. So I have another question here. Is about what you mentioned, Mr. Glenn, about the recent reunion between the President of Mexico and the Minister of Foreign Relations from Canada, Anita Anand. The question is, what do you think are the priorities that are key between Canada and Mexico right now?
To show America that the two countries can work without it. And that is the political statement. I think the reality is going to be much more complex than that. And I think it's going to take a lot longer than that. If I may, I'd like to go back to the other question in regards to the data centers. One of the things that has happened in the state of Arizona is the massive amount of data centers coming in has tested the energy capacity in Arizona to its maximum. And that is an opportunity that Canadian investors have seen and have invested tens of billions of dollars here with companies like Pattern Energy, with Capital Power. There is a brand new gas pipeline that just got announced this morning, and Arizona, through its energy companies, APS and SRP, Tucson Electric Power is a Canadian company. They are all working around the clock, but this is a very, very energy consuming AI type project. And to the earlier answer, this is something, if Sonora wants to get into this, this isn't about water. You're absolutely correct. This is about raw power and where that power is going to come from. Is it going to be solar? Is it going to be batteries? Is it going to be wind turbines? Is it going to be nuclear? And all of those have been built up in Arizona, and Arizona is right up against the wall right now. And it takes years to build that infrastructure. So if I was sitting here as Sonora, I would be trying to tap into the Arizona energy grid as it grows and see if there's a way to bring some of that into that state. The other thing that I would bring into this discussion is to understand that mining is also a huge energy consumer. And as Sonora looks to grow in its mining area, energy is going to become a huge issue for that as well. So coming up with sets of solutions for that are not short term, they're mid-term. Having 20 and 25-year plans for this is very important, while we put Band-Aids on the short-term problems that should have been thought about 25 years ago.
Thank you.
May I add something to that?
Yes, yes.
I think this is a very interesting discussion. We have been over here in Sonora talking about a lot about the industrial development, industrial parks and infrastructure, and of course energy. But there was a big buzz a few years ago about the building of big data centers, and then that just faded out, and the big issue was call centers. So there was a boom, a huge growth in call centers. But I think this is a very interesting subject that I think that over here in Sonora we should be talking a lot more about. Also because we have a surplus in energy generation in the state of Sonora. We are a net exporter of energy to other states, to neighboring states of Sonora. So I think that opens this window of opportunity. I think we should be talking more about that.
And Arturo, if I can add on to that, you're absolutely spot on. As these call centers move away from India, and as the AI server farms grow in the United States, the call centers in the United States are looking to relocate. And I believe Mexico is absolutely spot on to look at that.
So with that in mind, I would like to ask you for your, as they say, last remarks. But I think I have heard from you a lot of opportunities, a lot of new industries vinculated with energy, with technology, but also we have to address all the concerns that the region has. So I would like you to have your final comments for this forum. We know that it's always a discussion that can be addressed in another fashion and in another time, because every day everything is evolving news, and we have to be respectful of not having a reaction for every news that we have right now, and be very concise about the future of North America, and how at the end I will argue a little bit about not deglobalization, but most of a reglobalization of the world. So with that in mind, I would like to ask Arturo first now for your last remark for this talk.
Thank you, Remy. Thank you again for the opportunity to be a part of this great conversation. I would like to leave you with a few closing thoughts, especially for those of us working on the ground in the Arizona, Yuma, and Sonora, Canada and Sonora regions. First, this region can be a model for North American collaboration. We already share so much geographically, culturally, we share trade, but we need to build deeper links in strategic industries, energy, advanced manufacturing, agricultural technology, and of course, logistics, what we mentioned earlier regarding the connectivity of Sonora and Arizona. Second, we need to make it easier for companies on both sides of the border to invest, to grow, and to innovate. That means better infrastructure, faster border crossings, simplified regulations, and joint workforce development programs. The talent is there. We just need to connect the dots. We just need to connect better. Third, the private sector must lead, but we need the government as a close partner, not as a barrier. The upcoming USMCA review is our chance to push for more certainty, more alignment, and a truly shared vision of what this North America can be. Our organization, we're ready to keep building bridges between Arizona and Mexico through trade missions, innovation partnerships, and regional development strategies. We have been friends for a long time. We have earned each other's trust for so long, but I think that now it's time to think in terms of partnerships. So I think this is an opportunity to think as a region, and North America's future will be shaped by our communities, by these communities like ours. Thank you.
Thank you, Arturo. Now, Fernando, please.
Awesome, thank you. I mean, some amazing closing remarks, Arturo. I couldn't agree more. For my side, I mean, we are vecinos. I think the importance of subnational governments and local governments will continue to be of significance. That's the area where we implement, where we execute, and I think with the topics that we spoke about today, whether it was semiconductors, AI, industry alignment as a whole, that's really going to take us to the next level. We've seen it, and I think we're going to continue to see that, even with the uncertainty that might be happening. The second piece that I would like to mention, it's something that Arturo mentioned, that it's very, very true. As the ACA and as governments, I agree. These decisions, especially on industry, need to be industry-led, need to be focused on data that back up the best return on investment for a public purpose. So in closing, we share a border, but we share more than that. We share values, we share culture. Let's continue to be good vecinos. The second piece, industry alignment will continue to be at the forefront, and for that, we need a strong strategy. And third, I look forward to continue to work with Arturo, Remigio, with the great work that he's doing with Forefront Said. Glenn, like always, and Consul General, again, thank you so much for your leadership in getting us together, Canada, Mexico, and the state of Arizona, to have one of many discussions that will continue to make our mega region thrive.
Wow, thank you, Fernando, for that. And for the closing remarks, Mr. Glenn Williamson.
You know, Fernando, I'm always impressed with your ability to summarize things. It shows your talent, and it's also great to hear from the Yuma perspective. Three things or four things that I believe are very important that I want to leave. Agriculture was never anything we talked about, and yet it is massively important. And Mexico is very, very big in this. Canada knows, because in the wintertime it is kind of important. I think the robotics industry in agriculture is going to become something very, very big. I think concentrating on capital and the movement of capital across all three borders is going to become very important. E-commerce and digital trade should be looked at, as well as physical trade. And I think mining is also one of those areas that crosses all three borders and is going to become critically important as to what people do and how they do it. I also believe, in my summary, that work on what you can control and do not follow other people's problems. If you can control something within your sphere of influence at a state or a county or a city, concentrate on that and don't get too caught up in the federal bureaucracy discussions that are going on. And you will find that you can get things done at a local level between three countries far better sometimes than the federal government, which is going through a lot of political noise.
Oh, thank you. And with that, I will ask Consul Dulce Valle to have the closure of this webinar, this event, and I was very glad to participate in. Thank you very much to the opponent. Consul. I don't know if he was prepared for that message, but if not, I would like to thank you, the three participants, for this webinar. I would like to thank everybody that connect.
Sorry, do you hear me now?
Yes.
I didn't. My microphone was mute. Sorry. No, thank you, Remy. I say that I would like to thank the panelists for their excellent participation and you for agreeing to moderate this panel. And gran bravo to everyone. Felicitación. Thank you very much to the audience who attended the webinar and to those who asked questions. The Mexican Consulate in Yuma and Yuma County appreciate your participation. It was an enriching discussion, and I hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully, some ideas will emerge from it for the negotiation. Why not? These contributions will not be lost. We will disseminate them and forward them to the authorities through the appropriate channels. I bid you farewell with my best wishes for greater North American integration and more success to the negotiation teams. I think they will need it. Thank you to Arturo Fernandez, Fernando Garcia, Glenn Wilson, Remy Martinez, the consulate team, Maricruz, Granillo, and Itzel Flores, and all of the other participants. This is the second webinar on the USMCA. The first webinar was held on May 21, and is still available to watch on YouTube and Facebook. Today's webinar was also being recorded, and we plan to hold a third webinar next year. Please follow us in social media. This is what I can say now. Thanks again to everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great one.
Muchas gracias.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.